Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I want to go into a little flow with the guide. And we're going to go into a little bit. I don't usually just drop right in and ask questions, but I'm going to ask questions. I've got this sense, this feeling that there's just a huge kind of influx in energy. I've been talking with a lot of clients who are feeling like they're accessing more energy. They feel as if, and by the way, this isn't for everyone, of course. Some people out there are like, what are you talking about? I'm exhausted. From my perspective, it comes in waves. I get a huge influx of energy, and even if I feel as if I've balanced myself, sometimes I still need more sleep. Sometimes I still need more water. Sometimes I still need to do certain things that I would usually feel as if I would recover faster. It's taking me longer to recover. Other times, it's taking me even less to recover than it usually would. So I've been just invited to invite everybody else just to let go of expectations on however this needs to look as we move through this ascension cycle, this next cycle of our development. Because, the game has changed and we're not really sure exactly what that means from my perspective. So there you go. There's the big message. But I want to go into a little flow with what that means from the perspective of the guides, my higher guidance team, which is my collective of my higher self and angels and galactics. And we all have our team, right? That we are connected to through our consciousness, our DNA, whatever you want to label it as. So I'm going to tune into that. And I wanted to address maybe if I think would be a fun topic is the Lionsgate portal. That's whether or not we have these theories on good, bad. I'm going to invite everybody to be really neutral, because the energies that we are creating, co-creating together, are going to look and reflect back to us oftentimes our beliefs about them. And the guides are like, and that's part of the reason it's like we don't know what we don't know, right? Through this next cycle in development, I don't know what it's going to look like. I can tell you that we're becoming more aware, that we're becoming more psychic. I can tell you that we're becoming more telepathic, or we're remembering more of that about ourselves. And so how is that going to look? It's going to look different for everyone, because we are all at different stages of our development. We're all at different stages of how we process this. Some people are ready, and others are afraid, and others are still wrapped up in an old story. Others are still waiting for B to happen before C. And, from my perspective, all is happening now. And so we are being invited to let go of our beliefs around even these big portals and these dates. From an overview, what the guides are sharing with me is they're showing me this big color wheel. I'm getting goosebumps. And they're showing me like a color palette, right? And that we're the artist, and we're choosing how to mix the paint, and we're choosing the variation of how we want this to be defined, meaning our future or what we're lining up with. And there's a large, I'll just step out of the way and let the guides kind of share about the portal. So all right, so I'm hearing I'm late for a very important date. So here we go down the rabbit hole, right? But I'm also seeing a reference to the number 8. And I believe the Lion's Gate is on the 8th or around that time. I want to also address that I tend to pre-wave events, and some of you out there too do also. So sometimes we'll have somebody who's been in this industry, profession, teaching modality, whatever that is, for a long time saying, no, this is the way it is. You have to follow this protocol. You can only line up with this portal on this particular date. Otherwise, it's not open. What I'm being called to remind everybody is we are the portals. We are walking portals. So what we choose to line up with lines up with us. So we can precog some of these upcoming events and stabilize the field now so that it can be more supportive for these upcoming events. And so that's where I'm being called to invite everybody to let go of labeling any kind of event or portal as negative. And start looking at things from a lighthearted, open-minded, and playful perspective. Because the more we can get away from a lot of the chaos of what's true and what isn't true, and this is how it really works, and no, you're wrong, and it's just about being lighthearted is what I'm being shown. So, and I'm hearing we need the lighthearted leaders to step up so that the very serious and definitive programming that many of us have kind of been schooled under will start to lighten up too, will start to dissolve. I'm just hearing, let's not take ourselves so seriously. And let's start seriously. Anyways, so here we go. And so the portal system, if you will, is a network of energetic convergences that aligns itself through our own explicit, this is a plan words. Okay, I'm being called to really be playful with this and play. That's kind of the theme. We are being invited to restructure our reality structure as with as much freedom as possible. So this, I'm hearing Leoness, Lioness, Lion Gate, allows us to co-create in a more I'm hearing courageous, empathic, fruitful way. And then I'm asking myself, well, why? How does that work? And so if you were to look at the alignment of certain planetary systems and you were to see the structure of that planetary system, and you were to realize that during this alignment, we are essentially feeling the frequency that is being magnetized by these alignments. This is what it's all about. So those of us that have these connections to these more galactic, flavorful expressions of reality, you will feel more inclined and more maybe on purpose, maybe on task, maybe more creative during these time frames. Not everyone is open to receive these frequencies. They are more for those who are on the path of reorganizing the new path and new structure of reality. There are those that are completely tuned out and turned off from fully aligning themselves with the connectivity that the planetary structures and alignments provide and allow us to co-create with. So when we have more light from a particular star system, as an example, it creates excitement within that particular harmonic. The bandwidth, that harmonic bandwidth is what we then are able to stream into and align with in a more fluid way. It magnetizes or enhances that particular crystalline arrangement that is part of the structure of reality. And so I'm being shown like the full moon, and part of it has to do with our beliefs. So that's kind of why the guides are saying try to get away from believing wholeheartedly without room for, but it's like be in your heart, but allow room for magic, allow room for change, allow room to create the new versus shutting ourselves down because we think something's been hijacked. I don't know why. This must be like a thing right now. Do a bunch of people think that Lionsgate's been hijacked? What I'm being shown is no one can hijack anything, really. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's just dive in. All right. While we would say that some pieces of reality have been played with or manipulated in order to cause us to see reality in a manipulated way, distorted way. We are playing because now is no longer that way. Play on words. What you are creating now is now different than it was before. So when you walk through these portals, why drag with you that which would drag you down? Why drag with you the repeated patterning thought structures, beliefs, and feelings about our reality that hold on to a template full of negativity? We would invite you to let go of the need to express in this way. For even though those dominions have been expressed over and over again and have created and dispersed energy in such a way that we believe they have been hijacked, so to speak. We would also venture to say that sometimes the stories of the hijackings are implanted in order to take us down that direction in what seems an innocent way. Does this make sense? Basically, what the guides are showing me is like energy is energy. So if we're saying, all right, I'm going to tell the truth, this has been hijacked. Don't put your intentions in during this time because your energy is going to be siphoned and it's going to be pulled in the negative direction. That is a negative message. Whether or not it is true, is what I'm being shown is manipulated, meaning it's pulled, it's manipulated, it's pulled into a particular direction through man's belief. So all of that is manipulated, whether it's telling the truth about something being hijacked or not. If we hear that and then we respond in fear or in a belief that feeds that particular entity of truth, we're just being invited to let it go. What if we just said, no, I don't believe in any of it? Actually feels really free. Like I'm being called to play with that. What if none of it was true? What if it just so happens that because of the alignment of the earth and the planets that we have a little bit more juice, and what we focus on as a collective adds to that juice? And it's that simple. So if we're focusing on the juice, the truth juice, but the truth isn't necessarily going to set us free, it only makes us feel more sad, angry, held back, controlled, then how is that really, truthfully setting us free? So these are questions we're being called to ask ourselves. And I'm being called to really say it doesn't mean that the truth isn't important. And it doesn't mean that it's not important for us to understand our lineage, where we came from, our history, and all of that. That's not what the guides are saying. What they're saying is, let's take these opportunities during these big points in time in our construct of reality to reconstruct and to be constructive rather than destructive, rather than continually trying to break things down so that they can be rebuilt. Just rebuild it. Just be like, all right, here's how I'm going to behave. Here's how I'm going to talk. Here's how I'm going to share my energy. This is what I choose to focus on. And if that is true, then about, let's say, a particular portal being hijacked, with enough focused intent, it won't matter. Because when we focus our attention and energy, it already dissolves that reality. Because it cannot be continuously created or pull from our energy if we're not giving it power, if we're refusing to add to it. So if we're in our hearts and we are in a place of coherence and a higher resonance, we are not living in a reality structure in which that type of energy exists. Does that make sense? That's what my guides are saying. I'm just saying. So let's keep playing with that. The reality structure that we are sitting in now is overlapping these other systems and other realities. And so we can add to that, or we can gain greater strength and clarity by letting go of the need to gain greater strength and clarity. It will come from us letting go of the need to control the narrative, no matter what that may be. For control is part of the old reality, the old system. Feeling held down means we feel out of control. And when we learn new information that makes us feel like we know more, we feel then more in control. But in actuality, there comes a point where we're being called to put down the gaming. I'm seeing the controls on like a Nintendo or whatever you call those. Clearly I don't play video games, but you know, the controller. And once we put that down, we can open to see a bigger screen, a bigger game. And we actually then are less of a player in the game and more of a co-creator. We allow ourselves to put down the reins, and instead of dictating to one another who is bigger, better, faster, smarter, stronger, and better looking, we begin to look within. And when we look within, we begin to see the world for what it is. We begin to co-create with strength rather than giving our power away to a story, a program, a narrator, and we write the script of our own story, which if we are in a place of coherence and heartfelt, I'm hearing integral, integrity, like it's a strength. Integrity is what it is. We're like, no, I am not going to continue to feed that part of our program. Maybe it was this way. Maybe this is what's happened. I'm going to spend time with my grandchildren. I'm going to spend time out gardening. I'm going to help my neighbor. I'm going to so on and so forth, if that makes sense. And then what happens is that other stuff, the programming, doesn't keep pulling us back in. And so we begin then to move away from division, and we look at our own lives and we take back the control that we have been given from the beginning. We begin to see that no one is truly in control that hasn't been given the control by us as a collective. We begin to let go of the need to control others' form of speaking, others' thought forms. We begin to let go of the need to look down on someone for choosing something they may have been, I'm being shown, required to choose, like they felt like they had to do that and we're judging them for it. But what I'm being shown is that part of the reason we're doing that is because we don't feel in control of something in our own lives, is what the guides are saying. Needing to control the narrative, needing to control the outcome, needing to control how things look. Let it all go, especially during these times and these portals, for we become more synchronized at times because of this alignment with other purposes, with a deeper purpose, with the purpose of us creating these portals in the first place, not the distortion and the irregularities that have created lack of synchronization and synchronicities. We are at a stage where it is important for us to step off the stage, to take a bow, to close out this old game, and to sit for a moment, reflect on what we have learned, reflect and go within to see how we feel about what we are learning and what we would like to learn moving forward, giving us a teachable moment, allowing us to then step up to the plate. I'm seeing that as a play on words, and co-create in a bigger field, to recognize that everyone is the star of their own drama, that they are the star of their own stage. And we let go of the need to knock people off of their stage because we feel out of control of ours. Once we step into a space of deeper resonance, frequency, and heart intelligence, we begin to speak more intelligently and intuitively, intellectually. I'm hearing intuitively. It's like a combination of those words. We start to create a template of reality and combine our frequencies and exchange more technology with each other from a productive way, from a harmonious way. And as we do this together in unison, in combination, that which has been hijacked or taken away from us from one perspective is then righted. Like I'm seeing, like it's no longer off here, it comes back into alignment because we're in alignment. We're the ones that are adhering, play on words, to that structure of misalignment. So stop, I'm seeing taping ourselves. So like we tape ourselves and we're peeling ourselves back, but I'm also seeing like an old tape recorder recording over and over and over again. So move into this next space or alignment with spaciousness. Let go of the need to control how others are lining up or not lining up. Take back our power. And I'm hearing power hour by hour, moment to moment, in time, by coordinating our own center, our own gravitational pull, so that we are not pulled into forces beyond that which we have control. There's kind of a play on words with this, I'm getting. Like, I'm not sure why, but so, because I don't want it, it's not a negative thing, the word control. Like, a lot of us feel like we want to control our lives. What does that even mean? Well, so from a very basic perspective, I just want to be able to say, all right, I'm driving from point A to point B. I can control where my car is going. I can't necessarily control what somebody else does as I'm driving in front of me. And it is not, if I'm exerting my power over them, or I'm saying, this guy's not going to cut in front of me, I'm not going to let him. Why do I need to behave that way? Usually it's because I'm not feeling in control of my own life somewhere, right? That's what the guides are saying from one perspective. If I play with this a little bit more, and I'm sure I'll have more questions that come up because of this, I'm seeing where they want to, oh, that is so funny. Remember in the beginning of this, I was seeing a color wheel. The word control originates from contrario role, meaning counter role or duplicate register used to verify accounts. This term itself derived blah, blah, blah. Combining contra, which is against. Okay, now I see why the guides wanted me to look this up. And rotulus, a roll or a wheel. So it's moving against the wheel. Now this is a play on words too. I can see this. The evolution of the word involved to check or to exert authority. The sense of dominate developed in the mid 15th century. So it was never meant to be this meaning that we've given it. But I like playing with that because I'm basically seeing like, and then it moved into overbearing. So it's essentially, from what I'm looking at, is why do we feel the need to exert authority over someone else? It's because we feel, right, like we don't have authority in our own lives. And I get that, you guys. I see where the guides are going with this. Like, we have to clock in, or we have to go to work at this time, or we have to sit in traffic, or we have a family member we have to put up with that is, not nice or pleasant to be around. And so there's all these things that come up where we don't feel in control. And so when we're looking at things happening around us, we want to be able to exert that over somebody else. So this is something just to be aware of. And also, it's going against the wheel. So we could play with that. What the guides are showing me is it's going against the color wheel. It's like, no, you have to paint with this color because I told you so. And so where are we doing that to others, essentially? And so how do we get out of this wheel? How do we stop going against the wheel? We don't want to get stuck on the hamster wheel. That's not what I'm referring to. But basically, what I'm being shown is let go. Let go and just allow ourselves not to be pulled into someone else's tornado. That's when we start to feel out of control. We can speak our truth and say, that's not something I agree with, or can we not have this conversation right now? I'd really like to change the topic to something positive with this family member. It might be better sometimes just to ignore them. It might be better sometimes just to walk away. We don't need to necessarily stand up and, what's that song? Or that saying, what was it? Respect my authority from South Park. We don't necessarily have to be that person. We don't necessarily have to tell others. This is what's going on all around us. It's time to let go and start to listen and feel and interpret what somebody's really saying. and then feel into that. And maybe if we start to do this on an individual basis, then we all wouldn't be running around trying to control each other, because we'd all be doing what we need to do to get through life. So this is, what I'm hearing is it's really kind of a growing pains right now. Like, this is really uncomfortable right now for a lot of people. A lot of people feel out of control. So what happens? They want to feel that way, so they're exerting it on others. So those of us who are aware, and those of us who are able to step into that resonance, that coherence, are going to then exert power in a very neutral and integrity strong way that is not pushy or arrogant or ego driven. It merely is a force that others who are not in that space will, when they come into our field, will either run away, it could trigger them, or they'll match our frequency. This is contagious. I encourage you to look at heartmathinstitute.org or heartmath.org if you haven't before. And I'm going to end on this note. What I'm being shown is take a moment before we go out into the world or before we turn on the television. Ask ourselves, how can I center myself so that I'm in a space where I don't feel the need to control others? And so that I can speak my truth and not allow myself to be controlled or manipulated by others? Where can I find this balance? And as we go into that heart-centered awareness, we won't need to necessarily be seeking those answers. They will just show up for us. We will be presented with an opportunity to say no thank you from a neutral way. We will be presented with an opportunity to help somebody else by just listening to them and offering a space, or not listening and feeding that entity, being, an energy, right? Not adding to it. I hope that was helpful for someone. In love and light, namaste.